Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
It's time for Sports Wrap on 90.5 WASU FM.
Welcome inside the Wayne L. Sumner Studios here in the George G. Beasley Media Complex, just down the street on River Street. How is it going, everybody? I'm Josh Scott, Riley Carlson, and Lucas Warren in the studio. Ben Cole, who was hosting tonight, unfortunately is not here at the moment. He is currently stuck in traffic, so we took matters into our own hands, I guess you could put it, gentlemen. So, but we are here. We're here
Josh
to talk.
is carrying the squad right now.
I'm trying my best.
Let's go.
I'm trying my best. So, but let's go ahead and get started. Not a moment to lose with this week in AppState football. Gentlemen had a great matchup against Marshall this past week. And guys, get your overall thoughts. Great win for this Mountaineer team, to say the least.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm going to say my biggest takeaway from this is Corey Sutton absolutely carried our team. The one possession was it was right at the end of the third quarter. It was the most impressive possession to me. I thought Corey Sutton had a 37-yard catch on that possession, and he had a 24-yard touchdown. We were down 30-21. He made it come back. He helped us come back to 30-28, and he had 61 of his total 127 yards on that possession alone. And honestly, I'm gonna break this down here. It was I would say this game was a matter of three different drives that really were the most important things in the entire game. One was the drive right before half, where we executed a perfect 2-minute drill. Cameron Peoples scored with 4 seconds left in the end zone. That's the first drive that really affected the game. The second drive is the one I just talked about, the drive at the end of the third quarter when we were down 30-21. We needed points. We relied on Sutton, and Sutton came through. And the last drive would be the final drive, obviously, that set up the game-winning field, or the game-winning field goal with Staten kicked a 45-yard field goal, which I didn't even know he could do that. So that was crazy. It was awesome. Good game though.
Yeah, it was a good game. App State won, but I think we're going to need to play better if we're going to complete our revenge tour and beat teams like Coastal and Louisiana. Our defense did have a little trouble containing this talented Marshall offense, and our defense hasn't been great this whole year. Caden Smith, our starting safety, has been injured all season, so we've had to rely on backups at the safety position. Grant Wells threw for 270 yards, 8.2 yards per throw, and then 3 receivers had a more than 30-yard gain on that day for Marshall, so we were a little vulnerable through the air, but offensively, we look great. Nate Noel, 20 carries for 187 yards, all in the second half. He was amazing in this game. Really was just like the Marshall defense is pretty big and slow, and they just couldn't keep up with Nate in the inside zone and outside zone plays that we were calling for him.
Arguably our lead back.
Oh, I mean, Cameron Peoples had the fumble, and after that, I don't think he saw the field again. We really relied on Noel when it counted, so. And then our 2 super senior wide receivers, Corey Sutton, of course, Riley touched on it, 10 receptions, 127 yards, but Thomas Hennigan, 9 receptions for 123 yards. So he also had a great game.
You mentioned that, Lucas. He had 9 receptions. Coming into the game, for those who don't know, Hennigan was 16 receptions away from breaking the all-time catches record for App State football. He had 9 on Thursday night, making him 7 away. Very much doable in breaking that record within possibly the next game or two. But Ben Cole, who just joins us, walking into the studio, any thoughts on this past Thursday night's mashup?
Howdy, boys. Yeah, I thought it was a fun game to watch. I agree with a lot of what you said, Lucas. App won, and that is great, but I don't think it's something we should be super proud of, or the way we played going into games like Louisiana or Coastal, which are back-to-back. There are some positives. I was going to touch on Nate Noel, 187 yards on 20 carries, averaging almost 9.5 yards a carry. Yep. That's insane. And like Lucas said, he was just beating guys on the edge, just showing off that speed. So I think that'll be interesting just going into our next game, how we decide to go with that dual back. Chase Bryce looked better. Touchdown and a pick, obviously. I just thought this team showed some resilience. Down 9 in the fourth quarter. It looked like things could get out of hand. It really looks like Marshall might win this thing, and just good on our team to battle back in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, if I could mention that third quarter, that was the real killer for our team. We finished every drive in the third quarter with a turnover. Chase Bryce pick first possession, Cameron Peoples fumble in the second possession, and then turnover on downs on the third possession. So that terrible quarter was really our only bad quarter, and Marshall went on a 10-0 run that quarter. We responded with a 10-0 run in the fourth to win by 4. And what Ben said was really true. The resilience was really what showed in this game. Just the fact that we could battle back from 9 down in the fourth was a good sign for this team, showed that they're not going to fold over when they're put under pressure like that. But we still shouldn't be getting into those situations in the first place.
Sure. Those are the type of mistakes you want to eliminate if you're Chase Bryce. That threw, you mentioned that interception he threw, Lucas. It was a one-on-one coverage. Micah Abraham, the corner for Marshall, was on Corey Sutton. Covered him pretty well considering the amount of pass interference penalties that were in that game. They were at one point 2 or 3 in a row, I believe.
And there's plenty that weren't called, too.
Yes, to be honest, pass interference and holding are the 2 penalties that don't get called most of the time. But that was a very ill-timed mistake by Bryce. Hopefully he can, correct that come this coming Saturday against Georgia State. And by the way, how about the defense? 2 sacks on a game that a year ago they were unable to get to the Marshall Thundering Herd and Grant Wells, Ben.
Yeah, I thought our defense definitely looked good, better in some ways. I will say I'm still nervous about our secondary. Just don't like giving up 270 yards through the air. But this is a Marshall offense that's one of the best in the country. I'm going to expect us to give up points. So definitely think it's a positive sign. We held them to just 30 with the way our defense has been playing. We played better against them last year, honestly, defensively, without getting a sack.
Yes.
But great third and fourth quarter, as I was saying. But what were you gonna say, Ryan?
No, I think our defense. I don't think it was our best game. I don't think it was our best game at all. I don't think we played that well. We could play a lot better. But I will say we stepped up when it mattered the most.
Yes,
There's a point when it was 4th and 9. You touched on it, Lucas, and we turned it over on downs. And at the end of the third quarter, we were down 30-21. We're giving it back to a Marshall offense that's rolling. It looked like all hope was lost. Honestly, I thought it was going to be 37-21 Marshall at that point. And the defense stepped up, came up with a big stop. 3 and out, we get the ball right back. I mean, so that's just one of those turning points in the game, and it shows, to your credit, Ben, the resilience in this team. And so I think our defense didn't play its best game, but they did step up when it mattered the most.
And talking about that next possession after that was the Corey Sutton 2 catches. So that really flipped the momentum of that game. Mm-hmm. So, that defense, timely. That's what I agree with you 100%. The 2 sacks we had were very timely sacks. It wasn't just random plays. It was on third down plays that we got those sacks when we really needed to stop that Marshall offense that was driving down the field all night. So we bent, but we didn't break for the most part.
For sure, yeah. Also, not to mention the Shane Chucci field goal miss from 36, 39 yards out, I believe it was. That ended up deciding the game, and you could make the argument that that momentum switched at that point early in the fourth, or late in the third, and early into the fourth quarter. App State was able to run away with the victory. The Mountaineers improved to 3-1 overall, 2-0 at home, undefeated home record as up to this point. Marshall falls to 2-2. The second, the offense with the second most average offensive yards falls to 1-1 on an away record. Fellas, let's look forward to this Georgia State matchup coming up on Saturday, 2 p.m. ESPN Plus. Overall expectations for this game from both an App State perspective and a Georgia State perspective.
I'm a little worried just about this being one of those trap games. Georgia State, if people don't know, played Auburn this past week, which is an SEC's team. They were ranked, and Georgia State almost won that game.
They did.
It was really close. I think it was a 10-point game at the end. It was a lot closer than that shows. And this is a Georgia State team that, is just deceiving. They're 1-3, but they almost beat us last year. They almost beat us the year before. They almost beat us, the 2019 year when we were good, man. When we were good, they almost beat us. So I'm a little worried about this game on the road. I think they're going to be upset about that Auburn loss and definitely come out with some intensity.
Yeah, so I don't know. As I agree with you that we should be a little bit scared. Actually, not even scared of Georgia
I'm not saying we should be scared. I just think we
Just
should be cautious.
Cautious. Okay, I agree with you that we should be cautious, but I don't think this Georgia State team is really that good at all. I mean, it's a little bit. You're going to look at this last week against Auburn, and you're like, oh, well, they lost 34-24. They kept it a close game in Auburn. That's a little bit concerning, and that they could play like that against us. But then you look back at their history this year, and they played Army. They lost 43-10 to Army. They lost to UNC 59-17, and UNC is not that good of a team this year, as they just lost to Georgia Tech by 20. Not saying Georgia Tech's bad, but they played
Clemson well.
That's true. That's true.
Record's better than they should.
Yeah.
And then they beat the only win they have is against UNC Charlotte, which they should win. So I think this is definitely an expected win for App State, and if we can go there and just perfect our game, then we should be fine.
I guess by definition it's a trap game because we're traveling there. But like Riley said, this team doesn't scare me too much. I think it's just because the way this Georgia State team is built, they're not a passing team. They didn't pass well against Auburn. They haven't passed well at all yet. They're passed well at all this season. They're a rushing team. Their quarterback, Danny Granger, has 40 carries for 69 yards. 169 yards, 4.2 per carry, but he had 17 carries for 61 yards and a long of 22. And then their running back, Tucker Gregg, 41 carries, 257 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.3 yards per carry, 150 yards against Auburn, and a long of 57. We are a good team built. We're a team built for the run. We've had good run defense this whole year so far, so I think we should handle that well. The one thing that scares me is Darren Granger scrambling on pass plays. We've been really bad at containing quarterbacks. De'Aaron King ran all over us. Even Aller from ECU ran.
Even Grant Wells this past Thursday night made some plays.
We've had some trouble dealing with mobile quarterbacks like that, but I think as long as we can stop the run and we don't turn over the ball, which is plaguing us all year, if we just play like the team we are instead of these like stretches where we're just playing terribly, we just need to play our game and stop the run, and I think we should beat this Georgia State team pretty handily.
I was about to say, it really 50% of it is, do we shoot ourselves in the foot?
Yeah.
Because we set ourselves back so many games, and then it's a matter of beating ourselves. Yeah. I agree. We're the better team, and it definitely gives us the advantage that they're a run-oriented team. I'm not worried about our defensive front. I'm worried about our secondary. So I think we're just going to see a lot of read option. It's going to come down to our veterans up in the trenches making the right reads and our edge rushers making the right reads. I'm not too worried about it. I really do think it just comes down to, do we get off to a good start? Do we play consistent, sound football? And don't turn the ball over.
Basically the same conversation we had last Tuesday. If this App State team can start well, they'll be in good shape. And we did start well against Marshall. You can make the argument this past
we
Thursday.
shot out of the hand in that first.
Yeah. But, I think another thing, too, guys, App State's offensive line could be tested this weekend. Last year, Georgia State had 4 sacks, 10 for loss, and 2 QB hurries. They made Zach Thomas run like a chicken with his head cut off. I mean, he was all over the place trying to contain. Again, obviously, new quarterback situation this year, but I think Bear Hunter, Cooper Hodges, and everybody else on that offensive line will need to make sure that that doesn't happen again this time around as well. But yeah, go ahead.
No, that's scary with the Chase Bryce who isn't as mobile as Zach Thomas. That's all I was gonna say is he's not gonna be able to get out of the pocket as well as Zach Thomas.
Well, he can make plays. I mean, we saw he had a 30-yard run last Thursday night. It got called back from a penalty, unfortunately, but he can make plays with his legs if he needs to.
I will say too, the color commentator of the guy I'm interning with for App State, Noah Hannon, was a center for App State for 4 years, and he is committed that this is the best offensive line that App State has ever had. So
far, I believe him.
And they've been great. I mean, it's full of super seniors. Our center, Bear, that's his name?
Bear Hunter, yes.
Bear Hunter, yeah, what a name.
Bear played on my flag football team.
Really?
So did mine, yes. I remember.
Yes, and Bear got kicked off mid-season.
But no, I mean, we could still, we need to be prepared, but I think this App State O-line is ready for anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, Noah Hannon. I believe him when he says we have the best offensive unit in the of this App State program. I believe him.
Yeah, and Noah Hannon was like the smallest guy in that unit.
Oh, dude, I didn't believe he was a center. First, he's dropped 70 pounds.
Oh, I
since
know,
then,
right? So he already looks slimmed down. But
And I was like, you're lying. But yeah, he's only like 6 feet tall. So it's like,
yeah.
Let's move on to expectations on who wins this game, fellas. App State or Georgia State? Take a pick.
Yeah, App State should get this W, and they will.
App State wins. Yep. App State will win. But this might come back to haunt us later when we say this, and then they might lose, but they won't.
Why even?
I'm going with like a 28-17 kind of game for this one.
The spread is -10.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I think we should cover this game.
Yeah, I think we will.
Most certainly. I agree.
I think we'll get a garbage time touchdown to cover. Sorry.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I agree. This is not a game to look over. We've already touched on it. You know, teams like Georgia State, teams like Texas State, very capable of spoiling the App State offense and the App State defense. So, fellas, speaking of the App State offense, Corey Sutton, who leads the team in receiving yards right now, candidate for the Mayo Clinic Comeback Player of the Year award. Reactions on that, and much deserved in my opinion. I think obviously leading the team in receiving yards, had that big touchdown catch against Marshall last Thursday night, but certainly worthy of this title, or at least being considered to have this title.
Yeah, I definitely think he's worthy. Had that ACL injury in the 2019 season, and just a great comeback by Corey Sutton, putting up amazing numbers, getting recognized by AP panel and other people in the media. It says he will be recognized at a ceremony at the Fiesta Bowl on January 1st. So that'll be fun for him. But yeah, well deserving. Shout out Corey.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to the Marshall game for a second, his touchdown catch wasn't just a touchdown catch. It flipped the game for App State.
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, there's very few times you actually see a player, like, again, basketball, for example, is a game where one player can really dominate a game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it often in football. That possession, he just decided, I'm going to catch these two jump balls and score a touchdown because my team needs it. And there's not many players who can do that. So, yeah.
No. All while getting his foot in bounds on that last touchdown somehow. But, yeah, he's had 2 straight 125-yard games. If he can keep this up, I don't see why not, why he can't win the Comeback Player of the Year award, and as he should. So I'm rooting for him.
And
Kudos to Corey
draft pick, too.
Yes, most definitely. Kudos to Corey Sutton. Congrats on a great game last Thursday, and, of course, getting this recognition. When we come back, segment 2, we'll get into the rest of the college football world, including a couple of big upsets that happened to top 10 teams in the country. All that and more on the other side. You're listening to Sports Wrap here on 90.5 WASU FM. and then Riley Carlson and Lucas Warren. We just wrapped up talking about the App State and Marshall football game. Gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about the rest of college football week 4. As Josh stated, there were some significant upsets, some big games. I guess we'll just jump right into it. Guys, Clemson traveled to Raleigh, lost to NC State in overtime in a pretty crazy game. General thoughts on that one? I'm assuming, as North Carolina kids, you guys saw this game.
I was in Raleigh. I went back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, Hillsborough Street was rocking after. No, it was a great game. I don't know how much you guys are aware of Clemson's recruiting standards, but they're very high. Like, they, unlike other teams, they don't look past a lot of things, and they do not go in the transfer portal at all. And it kind of showed for the first time in this game. NC State's O-line was better than Clemson's O-line. Clemson could not run the ball. I'm just going to go through a little numbers here. First downs, NC State 31, Clemson 10. Third down efficiency, NC State 11 for 21, Clemson 2 for 11. Total yards, NC State 386, Clemson 214. Time of possession, NC State 41 minutes 48 seconds, Clemson 18 minutes 12 seconds. I mean, Clemson was lucky to honestly be in that game.
No, they really were.
No, like it should have been a blowout for NC State.
And that's classic NC State, honestly. To really be the better team. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw them miss the field goal,
I thought it was over.
I was like, Clemson's got to win now. Clemson's got to win now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'll end it here. But yeah, Clemson, they couldn't run the ball with any consistency, and they're still giving DJ these short, little, simple passing sets. They're not letting him throw the ball down the field. I feel like you have at least got to let him throw a few picks. Let him try to throw the ball down the field, because right now it's not working.
Yeah. I think right now Clemson, dude, they just don't look good at all. And if it weren't for their name, they should not be in the top 25. DJ had, I can't pronounce his last name, but DJ had 100.
Galilei, I believe.
Yeah.
I just tried that. I didn't know if that was going to work or not.
That was good. I mean, yeah. Better than I could do. But he had 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and he was 12 for 26. And honestly, he has all the athleticism in the world, but he can't. It all starts with his footwork. It all starts with the little details. He is very. He's not polished whatsoever, and that shows. So if he can learn and grow throughout the season, this will be a very good growing season for Clemson. Also, that loss of Will Shipley is a big loss for them. Only had 11 carries, 36 yards and a touchdown before he went out. And NC State, I really don't think they're that great of a team either, which is crazy. I mean, they played amazing that game, but they lost to Mississippi State earlier this year by 14, by 2 touchdowns. And they've won against Furman and USF. So I don't think they're that great of a team. So Clemson losing to NC State is a really bad look for them. But it was fun to watch. Always fun to watch Clemson lose. You know. Yeah. So.
Growing up in a house filled with red and white apparel. My dad graduated there in 1989. I've been a State fan long enough to know you really don't know which team you're going to get in big games like this. Whether, like you mentioned, Mississippi State, that I was expecting that game to be back and forth, a little bit competitive, but no, NC State got pummeled in that game. But I think this was a very defensive game. I was very surprised that there wasn't a lot of scoring, but both defenses were tested. 2 sacks for NC State, 2 timely sacks, 3 sacks by Clemson in the previous. In the game, but I think Devin Leary for NC State played really, really well. He was 32 of 44, 238 yards and 4 touchdowns, 2 of which came in overtime. But I think this was his best game by far in the season, probably his best game that he's had against a big opponent like against NC State. So I think Devin Leary had a great game, and just considering the fact that he played great, and he should be it's the reason why he's NC State's QB1. So yeah, it definitely was a defensive game, which I kind of want to touch on first. I don't know if you guys, I know Lucas was watching, but I do think NC State kind of got bailed out in a sense. They got that holding in overtime.
Which I remember.
It was it was on their play. It was like 3rd and 2 or something, and they threw that like pass through the back of the end zone.
I saw that. I know.
And they called it. It was either pass interference or holding. It was defensive holding.
Yeah, no,
but it was a super soft call. And I really did at the moment. I was like, that felt like a bailout for NC State, and they ended up winning the game. Just throwing that out there if you didn't see it. But just talking about the defensive standpoint, you've got to think. I agree with what you were saying, Lucas. The Clemson team is just not there talent-wise this year. But defensive is. Brent Venables doing his classic thing as the defensive coordinator, keeping this unit solid. I mean, this has got to cause some like tension when you have a defense that's literally god tier, and then you have an offense that can't move the ball against NC State.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad, and that's gonna show some bad locker room stuff. Because I mean, you got it's all gonna be on Dabo. He's got to keep this team together and make sure they don't turn against each other, because they could get really ugly really fast towards the end of the year.
Yeah. That defense is still stout as ever, and that's kind of why I think this NC State team lost. I think if you're a Clemson fan, you can argue. I'm blanking on the name, but their defensive tackle, he's very talented. He was injured during that game, and their middle linebacker, who's been on that team for 8 years, I'm forgetting everyone's name, he had a bicep injury going in, so they were missing 2 very prominent defensive pieces in that game. But yeah, no, I mean, until you get that offense right, there's no point of having that good of a defense, because you're not going to be able to move the ball. And I really like what you said, Riley. DJ, yeah, he's not polished as a quarterback, it feels like, yet. He's this athlete. He's 6'4", 240, can run, but he just doesn't seem like
doesn't look like a football player. No.
Yeah, it's like he just seems like this star athlete, but he doesn't seem like I don't know, there's something about him that's just off to me.
I agree.
Doesn't seem right. I don't know. It's not like. Just like he, I don't know, he didn't like walk in like Bryce Young walks in and you're like, oh, NFL quarterback, but it's like DJ just doesn't have that same like aura around him.
Well, again, you have to consider too, Trevor Lawrence is gone. Travis Etienne is gone. Amari Rodgers is gone. A lot of big offensive pieces for Clemson are in the pros now, and that can dramatically affect a team's offense or defense, whether or not it's which players on the side of football are leaving. But clearly, Clemson's offense is not the same as it was a year ago or even 2 years ago. So, but I think they'll bounce back though from this. Dabo Swinney's a good coach. He's been there long enough to where he can keep this team together, like y'all mentioned, and we'll see what happens next Saturday.
So, great points. With that game and the result, does this rule out an ACC contender for the playoff?
No. It's too early.
Elaborate. I agree, but elaborate.
I actually had this discussion with my brother. So it's too early. We still got teams like Wake Forest and Boston College that are undefeated.
That's true.
We have a team like NC State who has a great win and only 1 loss. So if they do run the tables somehow, they could. That'd be craziest sight ever if NC State somehow did it. But no, we still have teams who could do it, and it's not likely, but there is still a world where Clemson could be in the if we have a bunch of 2-loss teams at the end of the year and Clemson runs the tables and they are the best team in the ACC. I think there's a chance. It's not likely, and most likely I don't think we see an ACC representative for the first time, but it's not like impossible.
I would say if all things were fair and sunshine and rainbows and the college football world was not corrupt with the college football playoff, yeah, maybe Wake Forest can make it. Maybe Boston College can make it. But the reality is these people are not going to consider teams like Boston College and Wake Forest to get into the playoff.
They have to if they're undefeated.
But
they have to.
There's TV ratings to consider. There's money. There's all that to consider also. But and if they're undefeated, sure, you do have to consider them, but they'd rather put in a team like Oklahoma or somebody that's going to get.
I actually promise you, people would rather watch a deserving undefeated team like Boston College than a 2-loss or 1-loss Oklahoma that's been shaky all year and always gets into the playoff and always disappoints. But I hear what you're saying.
I hope you're right, because I would love to watch Wake Forest in the playoff. That'd be fun.
I hope you're right too. Yeah, but again, it's not just the fans, Ben, but there's also the college football playoff committee as well, who are making those weekly rankings. And I agree with Riley. I just don't see Boston College or Wake Forest getting the recognition that they should deserve. I mean, they're both undefeated. NC State, obviously, 23rd in the country now with their win against Clemson. But yeah, I just think right now, I'm going to use Lucas's line. It's a little early to say that teams like Boston College and Wake Forest should be considered for the playoff, but because you've got not only got the fans but the CFP committee, which they can make some questionable decisions on which order.
I will say though, if they are undefeated, which I'm gonna guess no ACC team's gonna be undefeated, but if they are and they win the ACC and there's not like 6 undefeated teams, they're gonna make it. I mean, it's just like if they're undefeated and there's a 1-loss team, they're gonna choose an undefeated ACC champion over like a 1-loss Oklahoma team, I feel like. But maybe I'm wrong. It's never happened before. So
I was about to say, I'm not saying Boston College or Wake Forest or these teams are going to go undefeated, but you can't keep them out if they're not, and there's not
it's
6
not like
other
they're like
undefeated
UCF.
teams.
They're not like a group of 5 school. They're still a Power 5.
Exactly. Will be interesting to see. But transitioning from that, would you guys like to segue into our Pick'em segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I lost my little sheet of paper. Oh no, I didn't. Look at that.
You want the?
Oh, I got it.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Who's in first right now?
Not me.
Me, obviously.
I went 1-1 this week.
Come on,
Yeah,
I
went
might be
0-2.
Josh, actually.
Just kidding.
You
No.
went 0-2.
Yeah.
Riley,
Hilarious.
Notre Dame, so you got that right.
I have it. Riley chose Notre Dame and Arkansas. So Riley 6-2 on the year. Lucas was 1-1 last week, so he is now 5-3. I'm 3-5. Jesus. And Josh is 1-1. So, with that being said, people, we have 3 games, a little bit of a special chance for people to make up some ground. 3 games this week because there's a lot of good college football games. We got number 8 versus number 2 Georgia. Well, let's just jump into it. Who do you guys got?
So it's all good. I know Riley's leading right now, but I'm going to go 3-0 this week, so we're all good. First pick, Arkansas, Georgia. I love this Arkansas team. They're probably my favorite team in college football right now. I feel like there's always that team that starts out unranked and then is like a great top 10 school, just kind of pops out of nowhere, and that's this team. They run the ball great. They are physical at the point of attack. KJ Jefferson is reminding me of Auburn Cam Newton in a lot of ways, so it's just a great team to watch, but this team's banged up. KJ Jefferson was injured in that game. They lost 2 defensive linemen in the Texas A&M game. At home in Georgia, or away in Georgia, I just don't see them beating number 2 Georgia. I think Georgia wins. But if they were healthy, it'd be a closer game.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So first, they beat Texas. All right. They beat Texas. All right. That's a big upset. Then they beat Texas A&M. All right. Here's the second upset. All right. Is the upset train going to keep going?
I don't know.
It stops in Georgia. All right, Georgia is going to beat them. I think Georgia's just too talented, number 2 in the country. As much as I would love to say, and I'm rooting for Arkansas. Well, I guess I'm rooting for Georgia now to keep my record up. But I would love Arkansas to win. I don't think they will.
Watch Arkansas just spoil all of our picks, and they just beat Georgia. We'll lose this game. But yeah, I agree with Riley. As much as I want to say Arkansas, they've been on a roll lately. Top 10 in the country. But Georgia's too good, especially at home. I think they take care of business.
Yeah, I almost want to pick Arkansas just because everyone picked Georgia, and it would be a great way for me to make up a game.
And you're 3-5. Yeah, you pick a game there.
Like, it's almost like I'm going to do it just for that reason. But I don't think I can will myself to pick Arkansas in this. Georgia's still favored by almost 19 points. It's at 18.5 right now. They're at home, like you guys said, and they have the best defense in the country. And despite Arkansas's stellar offense so far, I don't know. It's just hard to.
It's not going to be 19 points.
No.
I don't feel it's going to be like as Lee Corso would say, it's close.
I was about to say I think it'll be close, but I got Georgia in that one. Moving on, number 7 Cincinnati versus number 9 Notre Dame. A little bit more of a toss-up.
Oh yeah.
What you think?
God, this Notre Dame team.
I know
it's the bane of me, man. Like I don't know how to predict them. They're good, but then they look bad.
I know.
They looked terrible in the first half against Wisconsin. Like they did not.
And
look
Wisconsin
good.
looked disgusting.
Both those teams looked terrible. And then they blow them out in the fourth quarter when Mertz throws 4 picks and fumbles the ball. I don't know. I just don't know how to read this team. They only had 9 rushing yards against Wisconsin. It's I don't know. It's just a weird team. Cincinnati has a lot of talent on the roster, and they're a possible playoff contender, but they haven't played like the peak Bearcats we saw at the end of last year yet this season. It's a really tough pick. I don't know. What I'm going with, Notre Dame plays a lot of big games. Cincinnati in the American doesn't play a lot of big games. It's in Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has better big game experience than Cincinnati, so I'm going to take Notre Dame.
All right. So coming from your 6-2, number 1 seed, WASU, in the top spot, probably most likely champion at the end of the year. I would go.
There's a long time.
I would like a bell. No, I'm gonna go.
This is the same guy who said the New England Patriots are going to the Super Bowl, by the way,
That was
ladies
his
and
first
gentlemen.
hot take.
Please tell me that
On
RFL
record.
has been thrown away in the trash somewhere. No, I'm gonna go with Notre Dame only because I'm here because of them. And I feel like I can't pick against them at this point. So yeah, Notre Dame, I really honestly don't know. It's such a toss-up because there's no clear and obvious reason why either one of these teams should win. So yeah, got to go with Notre Dame here.
This is going to be, like y'all said, a toss-up. Both great teams. Cincinnati comes into this game averaging 15 points on defense. So against opposing teams, they keep teams to 15 points a game, which is incredible. But I'm going with Notre Dame too. I think this is going to be a nail biter, and I think the deciding factor will be the fact that the Fighting Irish are at home in South Bend, Indiana for this weekend, unlike last weekend. And again, I picked against them last week, and I was wrong too. They came alive in the fourth quarter. Brian Kelly, who comes into this weekend now as the Notre Dame leading coach in Notre Dame history with 106 wins, I think he's going to want to clean up these issues, and he will have them cleaned up at home this weekend. I'm going Fighting Irish, Ben.
Ben can pick up a game here.
I was about to say, I think I'm going to have to take the opportunity. I really do think this is a game where Notre Dame, I probably pick in a new, like a no circumstantial situation. I pick Notre Dame here. But with all of you guys picking them, I got to go with the Bearcats now. They were on the road against Indiana last week, only won by 14, but they're actually favored in this game, believe it or not. Their defense is like that. As you said, Josh, I like their defense to come up big here, force a pick from Jack Cohn or something, and get a big win here and get Ben a game back. I need it. So I'm going with Cincy, locking it in. So moving on to our last game, number 12, and this one is I wonder who we're gonna pick. Number 12 Ole Miss versus number 1 Alabama.
Anyone do it? Nah, I'm not gonna do it. I will say this though: if we were picking spreads, I would take Ole Miss.
Yeah.
If it's a 14.5 spread. They're giving Ole Miss 14.5. Ole Miss is good. Like,
Yeah, no.
Ole Miss, that offense. Matt Corral has been the best quarterback in
We could
college
do spread
football.
for this game.
If we want to do spread, I'll pick Ole Miss.
All right.
14.5.
We'll do spread.
I'll pick Ole Miss then.
Oh no, you
14
should
and a
do this
half.
to me now.
14.5. I'll take Ole Miss. That offense is legit. Matt Corral is going to be the first quarterback taken off the board this year. He has 997 yards, 9 touchdowns, no picks, 89.3 QBR, fourth in the nation. He's legit. This Ole Miss offense is legit. They run the ball well. They have multiple playmakers at the wide receiver position. I think offensively they can go toe-to-toe with this Alabama team. Their offense reminds me a lot of the Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M offense that was there a few years ago. It's the defense that's the concern. They lack size and strength up front, and Alabama's running attack is going to be hard to handle for them. If they can make it a shootout, they have a chance, but if Alabama's defense slows down Ole Miss's offense, then it's probably going to be a blowout, but I think Ole Miss can hang with them.
Oh no, guys! I don't even know. When I was looking over this before the show, I was like, all right, circle Alabama, on to the next thing. And now it's like 14.5. I still got to go Alabama. I think Bryce Young in this Alabama offense is too potent, and I think they will win by over 14.5 points. Even though it hurts me to say that because I really don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why y'all are picking. I don't know why you're picking Ole Miss, Lucas. Alabama's going to win this game. There's no question about it. It doesn't make sense to pick against them otherwise. No offense to a 12th ranked Ole Miss team. I think they should be in the spot they're in, and I think they've played well up to this point. But history speaks otherwise. Alabama has dominated against Ole Miss in the past, so I think Alabama gets this win and remains number 1 team in the country.
But over 15 points, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going over two scores. They beat Ole Miss.
I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Alabama's at home. They blow out just about every team they play. They did have that close game against Florida in the swamp.
It's Florida. Yeah, and it's in the swamp.
But Ole Miss, like Lucas said, that's an explosive offense. That's a talented football team. I really am just nervous about if they can't consistently score and they do give up a touchdown every possession to Alabama, it really could turn into a 21, 28-point game. Alabama's at home. I'm going with Alabama. Yep, Lucas has a chance here.
The Ole Miss supporter over here.
Locking it in.
Fortunate for Lucas.
Hey, me and Lane Kiffin, man.
We don't have a whole lot of time, but we will quickly switch gears into our NFL conversation.
Let's go.
To wrap up the show. Guys, I'm going to go across some headlines and then let y'all just jump into it and talk about whatever you want to talk about it, because a lot happened this week. The Panthers are now 3-0 after beating the Texans. Also just had a trade. Dan Arnold. They gave away Dan Arnold for C.J. Henderson, another corner, and I think it was a 3rd and a 5th round pick or something like that. Yeah. They're at the Cowboys this week. The Chicago Bears were held to 42 total yards of offense against the Browns, and it was Fields' first game as QB1. Yep. So that is going to raise some concerns, especially because that is a team that has very equal quarterback contenders.
9 sacks too by the Browns in that game, by the way.
Yeah. And then Justin Tucker doing Justin Tucker things, hits an NFL record 66-yard game-winning field goal to beat the Lions in Detroit, as if Detroit didn't need any more disappointment. Aaron Rodgers had a game-winning drive. Chiefs lost. Trevor Mann threw more picks.
Hater.
But what do you guys think about NFL Week 3?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to zoom through it. So, I know I'm speaking to some Panthers fans, so I'm gonna try to speak I'm not gonna. I know I can piss off a room real quick, but it's a good, encouraging start for a young rebuilding team. But let's be honest, it's not sustainable. Christian McCaffrey, you guys rely on him too much on the offensive end, and he injured his hamstring. He might be out for a while. And defensively, you guys have lost some big pieces. J.C. Horn, the biggest one, but you guys traded for C.J. Henderson, and I'm saying this not to be negative. You guys are in possibly the best position of any team in the NFL right now. You guys are young. You guys have cap flexibility moving forward. You guys are talented. I think you guys have weapons on both sides of the ball. I just think you guys need to really look at your team and figure out how you can maximize the pieces you have. Like Christian McCaffrey, for example, you guys are using him so much that it's to his own detriment. I think if you're gonna build this team up, you need to figure out how to sustain offense without having Christian McCaffrey be involved with literally everything offensively. And then quick touch on the Fields thing. It's not Fields' fault. I know I said this with Lawrence. I was the one defender of Lawrence. Matt Nagy is doing a disservice to that man.
The worst.
He did not change the offense whatsoever from Andy Dalton to an athletic young QB in Justin Fields. Why? I don't know. You got sacked 9 times and you make no adjustments. You just keep dropping him back and get sacked. I mean, it was hard to watch for Fields. He didn't have any chance, really. He just looked like a sad dog out there. So, yeah, that's my NFL take.
Okay, I'm going to go as quickly as possible here. First of all, Panthers 3-0. That's awesome. I don't know what got in Lucas's head. The Panthers are obviously the best team in football right now. No, I'm joking. No. But I think we're really good. I think that C.J. Henderson trade was amazing for us. I mean, I know we got some people who might disagree with that, but I think Dan Arnold, at the end of the day, is not the end-all be-all of the Carolina Panthers.
No.
And C.J. Henderson, that was a great move for not this season, but next season and in the future. I mean, that's 2 corners in the backfield that were top 10 picks the last couple of years. You don't see that happen often. Both on rookie contracts, both young and just not expensive. So that defense is looking really good, super young, super fast, super good. So I'm really excited about the Panthers moving forward. Second, you're right. It's all Matt Nagy's fault, not Justin Fields' fault whatsoever. It's the same offense with Mitch Trubisky. It's the same offense with Andy Dalton, and now the same offense with Justin Fields. If you have a coach who believes in his scheme more than his quarterback, that is a problem, and that's a bad coach that needs to be fired. What's going to happen in the future should happen in the present. He should be fired immediately. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So here are my thoughts on the C.J. Henderson trade. I wasn't too excited about it first. I mean, he's dealt with injuries, off the field stuff, obviously with Urban Meyer and company. But I mean, again, we needed a corner. J.C. Horn's going to be out for the next 2-3 months, possibly may not see the field for the remainder of the 2021 season. I think this is a good move in a sense that, we needed an immediate replacement, and and I think from a business move too, Scott Fitter is a genius for doing this. Not only do you keep J.C. Horn on his rookie contract, you pick up C.J. Henderson and his rookie contract. That gives plenty of cap space too to play players like Dante Jackson, like Hassan Reddick, who have been balling out so far in this 3-0 start for the Panthers. I think from a football move, I'm still on the fence about it, but from a business move, Scotty Fitt fleets the Jaguars 110%. Yeah. Great move by him, great GM. It'll be interesting to see how this works out come Sunday against the Cowboys, but yeah, going to the Bears, 9 sacks is unacceptable, especially against the Browns defense. That is, you got Myles Garrett, you got Denzel Ward, very, very talented.
Clowney
got Clowney as well. That's true. Yeah, Javion Clowney is still there. Very talented game, a very talented defense for the Browns, and they've got something rolling down there. And then, I mean, what can you say more about Justin Tucker? I mean, 66 yards off. It was a doink field goal, made it, and Lions fans are just huddling in a corner right now crying, and I feel terrible for him. But Justin Tucker, I think it's safe to say that he'll be a Hall of Famer whenever he retires.
Without a doubt, one of the most accurate.
I think he's the best ever.
I know.
Arguably the best.
Sure.
Yeah.
Best kicker ever. Yeah. As you touched on it, Josh, Panthers have the Cowboys this week. How do you think Panthers can be 4-0? Well, what do they have to do?
So I'm just gonna touch for a second. I didn't talk about the Dan Arnold trade. It's not a big. Dan Arnold is so replaceable.
No, I was about to say too. Also, rip Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold.
I was literally
Darnold to Arnold.
I was gonna say that's the most thing they're gonna miss because that was great in game time when they conveyed Darnold to Arnold.
He was beginning to become a reliable target though, so
he was too. But
yes,
Darnold liked him.
You just took the most.
But he's not Greg Olsen.
The most limited position in the league right now is cornerback. Growing most plentiful position is the tight end position. I feel like almost every team has a randomly good catch passing tight end right now. So it's you can replace Dan Arnold very easily, and getting a guy with the possible upside of C.J. Henderson, very good trade for them. But yeah, I think this is the first loss for the Panthers. It was a good start to the season, but you got roughed up in the Thursday night game against the Texans. Cowboys have been playing very well. I don't think you'll be able to handle this passing attack and rushing attack of the Cowboys offense. So I got the Cowboys in this one.
This is an absolute W for the Carolina Panthers. We are going to win in Dallas, and y'all can't say anything once we win because right now the big skepticism is that we're 3-0 against teams that don't really matter that much. But I think our defense can hold them. I think we can put pressure on Dak. I would not worry about their running game whatsoever. We've been able to stop the run really well. Held Kamara to 8 carries. What was it, 5 carries for 8 yards? 8 carries for 5 yards. 8 carries for 5 yards. That's what it was. So I think we'll be fine on the run game. Yeah, and to touch on the Arnold thing, we have Tremble in at tight end now, and I will say Tremble's going to be a really good surprise. I don't think he
had a great game against Houston last Saturday. Thursday.
I don't think right away he'll be better than Arnold because he's going to have to get the details down a little bit, especially with blocking assignments and all this other stuff. So right away, Arnold's a little bit better, but for the future, Tremble is the future, and he's going to be a nice little surprise for Carolina there. But yeah, hopeful that we will get the dub in Dallas.
I think we can win on Sunday as well. I'm going to agree with Riley. I think the Panthers remain undefeated. This is a Dallas team that looked really good last night against a Philadelphia Eagles team that isn't very good. And I think, the Cowboys are going to be riding high with that win last night. And that could be an advantage for us because I think our defense is certainly better than Philly's